Here's a video on variation. Now, there are two types. You have direct and you have inverse variation. Now, direct variation means as x gets bigger, your y's get bigger, or as x gets smaller, your y's are getting smaller. A real life example would be the more hours you work, the more money you earn. So as your hours are increasing, so is your money also increasing. Inverse variation is when they go in opposite directions. So like as your x's get larger, your y's get smaller. A real life example would be the more miles you drive, the less gas is in your tank. So as your miles are increasing, your gas is decreasing. So my directions are, my equations are direct is y equals k times x, inverse is y equals k over x. Here's the graphical representation. Of course, as your x's are getting larger, your y's are also getting larger. Now, this is a simple rational, and as my x's are getting larger, my y values are getting smaller. So here's some real life examples of variations. So number one, the number of pancakes made and the amount of pancake mix used. So of course, the more pancakes I make, so as that is increasing, the amount of pancake mix I'm using is also increasing. So that would be a direct variation. Now, the outside temperature in the winter and the amount of fuel required to heat a house. Well, as the outside temperature goes down, it decreases. The amount of fuel I need to warm my home has to increase. Since they're going in opposite directions, this would be an inverse variation. Now, if I wanted to find an equation that matched a table for direct and inverse variation, here are my steps. The first thing I have to do is I have to identify the type of variation it is. I need to identify whether it's inverse or it's direct. Second, I have to find k. Then I have to double check that k is what it is by using another point. And lastly, I'm going to make an equation, just a general equation. So the first thing I have to notice is, are my x's and y's both increasing? Are they decreasing? Are they going in opposite directions? So as the x's here are getting larger, they're increasing. My y values are getting smaller. So they're going in opposite directions. So that's letting me know that this is an inverse variation. So that's letting me know my equation is y equals k over x. Now, step two, I have to find k. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to plug in that coordinate point to figure out what k is. So that means that my y value is 4. My k value we're looking for. My x value here is 2.5. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2.5. So k is 10. Now, I want to double check to see if k is actually 10. If I don't get 10 again, then that means that this table of value is neither. It's not direct and it's not inverse. So I'm going to just double check again. So what that means is I'm going to try another coordinate point. So that means the 1.25 is my y value. And the k, I'm double checking. My x is an 8. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 8. K is 10. Perfect. So that means that the equation that matches that table would be y equals 10 over x. Now, you would do the same thing for direct. I won't work it all the way out, but you would do the same process. So looking here, my x's are increasing. My y's are also increasing. So this would be a direct variation. And so that means my equation would be y equals k times x. And I would do the exact same thing. I would pick a coordinate point, check k, pick the next one, double check k, and then lastly write my equation. Now, finding a value. Okay, so it says if y varies directly as x and y is 6 when x is 8, find y when x is 12. Okay, so normally they tell you the type of variation that it is. So they're telling me, hey, this is direct variation. Okay, so the first set of numbers is what I'm going to use to find k. Once I have k, then I can answer the question. Okay, so they told me this was direct. So that's letting me know my equation is y equals k times x. Now I'm going to use the first set of numbers to find k. So they told me y is 6. They told me x is 8. So now I have to solve for k. So I'm going to divide by 8. And I am reducing. So K is 3/4. Now that I know what K is, now I can get an equation to answer the question. So I have y equals 3/4 x. So this is the equation I'm going to use to answer the question. So now they said find y when x is 12. Well, that's cool. So I'm looking for y. They told me that my x was 12. So now I'm just going to multiply. 3/4 times 12, y is 9. Okay, so now let's tackle a word problem. It's the same process. So I have the number of boxes of candy a manufacturer sells each month varies inversely with the price in dollars. In 1 month, the manufacturer sells 800 boxes of candy at a price of $5 per box. About how many boxes of candy will the manufacturer sell at a price of $7 per box? Okay, even though there's words, the process is the same. They're going to tell you the type of variation that it is. Now, this is inverse. So whatever is to the left of this will always be y. So boxes of candy is y. Whatever is to the right will always be x. So the price is x. Again, they tell you what it is. To the left is y. To the right is x. Now they're going to give you the first set of numbers. Here's my first set of numbers. They're telling me 800 boxes, so that's y. $5 per box, that's x. So they're telling me this is inverse, so I have y equals k over x. My first set of numbers, they told me I had 800 boxes. Remember, y is boxes. K is what we're looking for. And x is the price, so that's 5. Okay, so I'm going to solve for k. I'm going to multiply both sides by 5. Okay, so my k ends up being a pretty large number. So it's 4,000. Now that I know what k is, now I can come up with an equation to answer the question. Now, my question is the last part. It says, how many boxes of candy if I sell it for $7 a box? So they're asking me, hey, what's y when x is 7? That's what they're asking me. Okay, no problem. So I'm looking for y, and they told me x was 7. So now all I have to do is divide 4,000 by 7. Okay, so 4,000 divided by 7 gives me a decimal. However, I am going to round. So it's about 571 boxes.